On my channel, I talk a lot about belief systems and the implications that those have on us as we live our lives, and how giving away our faith to something can give that ideology power over us in our life. And I like to entertain beliefs now. I don't like to give away my faith to them. And I want to elaborate on what it is that I found to be more healthy, at least entertaining more of the whole of all the Gnostic texts instead of just the small canon that is accepted in modern, like, fundamentalist Christianity. And that is the Gnostic texts have all kinds of different viewpoints, and they don't all align with each other. I'm talking about, like, there's the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Judas, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, and, you know, there's a lot of others. There's this channel on YouTube here called the Altrusian Grace Media, I think, and this guy narrates all these old scripts and texts, and it's very interesting. Once again, I do my best not to give away my faith to it, but I like to think about it, and it gives you, I guess with Christianity, it's that they have this exclusiveness with, like, Jesus being the only way for salvation, and whether or not that is true, that kind of puts an ultimatum on people. And they also have the whole belief of hell, which is a place, whereas other people think hell is just a state of mind. But the Gnostic texts, they give more background to who the one God is that claims to be the only God. Any God that claims to be the only God, why are they claiming to be the only God? And why do they, like, there's too many opposing forces at work for there just to be one God, in my opinion. There's too much cognitive dissonance. Either that, or I'm just too limited to understand. But I have been through Christianity. I was raised in that, and I just found it a lot more unhealthy as far as, like, the ideology of, like, it's like believing we are fallen and sinful, and that we need to have grace to be forgiven by our God because we were rebellious. And instead, I look at it as more of a healthy viewpoint, as far as, like, we are what we are, and we're not perfect, but are we evil? Or are these archons, these demons, inciting us and inciting all kinds of jealousy and envy and things against each other to elicit these negative things against each other, born out of ignorance? Because I found a lot of peace in not knowing and not giving away my faith to things out of fear of, oh, well, what if I'm not saved and I perish forever? I don't worry about that anymore. I believe that the true God, the true eon of creation, has enough grace and intelligence to understand our condition and the causality behind it. And that we don't have to learn through suffering. There are some things to learn through suffering, but it's almost like we're attached. We have attachment to suffering. Like, I don't know. I think it's insipid. I think there's other ways to learn. There's a whole spectrum of other ways to learn. Imagine what we could have learned these same things with adequate mentorship in a more healthy way. Maybe experience a little bit of pain, but there's tons of challenges that don't involve, like, this insipid pain and taking advantage of people and just being naive and myopic. If we could see more, we would make better choices for ourselves. If we knew more, if we could perceive better. And so what I'm saying is, I don't come to conclusions about any of this stuff, but it's good to do your research. It's good to go outside what is just the accepted consensus consciousness, which is just conformity, basically. And I'm a nonconformist, so anything that the masses start raging over, I start being like, maybe I gotta rethink this, because when there's something like that, it's more like, I don't know, it feels like manipulation, it feels like control, it feels like people are being controlled. And it's important to take a step back and try to look at the whole picture to try to see what's going on, even though we still don't know for sure. But I would rather adopt a more healthy way to look at things than just thinking people are depraved and sinful. I think we're actually a lot more creative than that. I think we're just so dumbed down and so limited that, yeah, we're going to do dumb things, unfortunately. And I think if a world like this exists, and there's worlds that are like this that don't have all that exploitation and extortion, and where people are actually freed up to be creative and to expand their abilities and expand their experience, because we can only do so much in this lifetime, and we can work really hard, but some things do take a certain amount of luck, as far as being successful on a YouTube channel, or becoming an independent musician, as far as like financially independent. And there's lots of things in life like that where it's like you work really hard for it, but you still need just a little bit of luck for it to work out. Because there's a lot of people in this game. There's a lot of us. And yeah, I don't want to be attached to any ideology. I don't even want to be too attached to the present moment, you know? Especially if time doesn't exist. But of course, then people would argue that is the present moment. Anyway, I'll keep this video short, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. And anything you might have gained from reading through any of these Gnostic texts that are not included in the Bible. And I really recommend reading them. It's like they're interesting. Obviously, take all that stuff with a grain of salt. It's very cryptic. A lot of it's just cryptic jargon. But there's also some profound elaborations in there that'll really get you thinking, some interesting parables. And I just like to take content at its face value. Like, it's like, without knowing if it's true or not, like, what is it saying? Like, what is the content? Like, what does that mean? And so to try to understand things for what they are, and if they hold up on their own, you know.